Here Comes the Guillotine contains offensive language, mature content and adult themes. It is not suitable for a younger audience.
Hello and welcome to Here Comes the Guillotine. I'm Frankie Boyle and I'm going to be talking to Susie McCabe and Christopher MacArthur Boyd. And you might think from the title that we have some kind of theme, something like that. No, we don't. It's just us talking.
Zero theme. Themes are for cowards. We are in the studio for the first time and the logos look class.
It does look good up in the videos. I'm quite impressed with that.
It's quite dark and forbidden, which I quite like.
There he is. Happy.
It looks like me and you have recorded the bits at the same time, but in the same venue at different times, Frankie. It looks like they're like, oh, how did they not know that they were clearly... You think there's going to be truths around this podcast? They've never met. They've never met each other. They don't even know each other.
It's the same guy. Do you remember that show, Big John, Little John?
Yes.
You're probably too young. It was a guy who was a teacher, right? And he'd drunk from a magical stream, which I felt was a lazy plot point. Right? But he would turn into, so the teacher was Big John, he would also turn into a Little John, right, like this pupil, occasionally. So what he'd have to do is he'd feel it coming on, he'd go, oh, where's Little John? I better go find him. And he'd leave the class, and then Little John come back and go, where's Big John? That was pretty much it,
right,
like, for several series.
Cool. I thought it was a chat show by Richard Littlejohn when you mentioned it.
Imagine a chat show by Richard Littlejohn, just pictures of Union flags and the monarch sitting behind them and just talking about how great Britain is. I remember Richard Littlejohn done an article, I think it was in the Mail, and it was when the Ken Loach film, The Wind That Shakes the Barley, came out, and it won the Palme d'Or at Cannes, and he said that it should, any British cinema, something along the lines of British cinema shouldn't allow this film because it goes against the grain of what Britain is. And I was like, I'm pretty sure it sums up everything historically that Britain has been, Richard, and it was unpatriotic. I was like, oh no, it's just historical and telling fact, but because we've not polished it, he was going off.
History is very anti-British. Imagine Richard Littlejohn was the right-hand man of Robin Hood. And he was just like, Robin, these immigrants, man. And Robin Hood's like, there's only one immigrant in Britain. Like, we captured him in the Crusades.
One too many. Get your bow.
It's history still just written by the victors, though, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's just written by the person that's won it, and it's just their agenda. I was talking to somebody yesterday who didn't know that India was a country.
What did they think it was?
Just, that's what the whole subcontinent was called, India. And then they went, just never get taught it at school. It's like, have you never looked at a map? They're like, no, but I done 6 months in the Victorian housing crisis. What?
That is true. I know a lot about 4-crop rotation and like the Jethro Tull type stuff, but I don't know anything about, I didn't get taught anything about like slavery. Do you know what I mean? But I get taught how to keep a crop good.
It's a bit like that thing, isn't it, where they go, they're always fighting the last war, but they're also educating the last generation. So like when I was at school, it was like PE was climbing up a big knotted rope because like a generation before, people would have been going into the merchant navy and having to climb up a big knotted rope.
Right. You had the apparatus.
Yeah. The apparatus and how you had to climb a metal and wooden frame just in case you ever get a job as a pirate.
But I guess that was literally it, because like a certain amount of kids from Glasgow would have just gone into the navy. So you had to be able to do that.
It's a bit nuts, isn't it? It's a bit nuts. The education system now, I think, is just mental. I don't know, like, I just don't think people, and I mean people in general, I don't think they critically think. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, you just look at the false news. What was I listening to the other day? Tucker Carlson.
Oh, aye.
Right, and it was like Trump had said something in 2017, and then Tucker Carlson just regurgitated it, and somebody went, no, factually, that's incorrect. And he went, well, to you, that's incorrect, and it's factually, but to me, it's the truth. And they're like, no, it's not the truth. It's a blatant lie. And he was like, no, it's the truth.
And also, maybe they only see the first bit. Do you know what I mean? This is a big thing in Reagan in his elections, was they were like, that was the first campaign where they really went, we should just start lying because far more people hear the lie than the rebuttal.
And do you know the thing? He's heralded as a great American president. He's heralded as a man of the people. And he was like, probably the start of that downfall, wasn't he? And that kind of modern politics of spin and lies and media manipulation.
He was absolutely terrible, and he was still better than this lot.
And he had early onset Alzheimer's, and he was still better than this lot.
It humanised him.
He's a great cowboy, though.
Yeah,
Do you remember they rolled out... You wouldn't remember this. Do you remember they rolled out Nancy Reagan for the war on drugs?
Just say no.
Just say no. Nancy Reagan, basically your nana, your posh nana or your posh auntie saying, don't take drugs, kids. Kids are running about the streets of New York in absolute squalor thinking, well, I can get crack or I can listen to Nancy Reagan. I think I'll go for the crack. Wild.
Never done crack.
This podcast is going to take off, and it's going to be crack galore.
I can't wait, man.
It's not. Christopher can't have a coffee before 9 o'clock in the morning. He's not taking crack.
It's the pipe. Looks so cool. I was watching somebody smoke crack. I was watching The Sopranos last night, and somebody was smoking crack in it, and I was thinking, love a wee pipe. Maybe not for crack, but when you see an old guy with a pipe, it just looks so kind of charming. I know the crack pipe's not the same type of pipe.
Also, pipes stink.
Yeah?
Aye, you know, like, there's a thing, if you can smell a cigar, it's that kind of, like, some people, it reminds them of Christmas or whatever like that, and their dad or their uncle or something, pipes aren't like that. It's like, oh, it's stinking.
Or maybe old guys just put that smell in there to cover the smell of crack. And they're like, yeah,
You know
pipes.
this, right? And like back in the day when it was the old peat fires in rural Ireland, and it was the
Turf. Yeah.
and it was the turf and the peat on the fire, and just the old guys that just walked about with a pipe permanently stuck to their lip, like walking with their hands in their pockets or so.
Apparently, turf fires, and you know those little heaters you get that are like a little stove, and you shake it up with a poker and all that, and they're very fashionable. They cause brain damage and cancer.
Oh, yeah? Both?
Yeah.
Wait there. What?
Yeah.
So we're selling like stoves and log burners to people.
Yeah. Stoves and log burners are really, really bad. And this whole sort of industry knows it and is just waiting to collapse.
Wait there. How? Because obviously it's sealed.
But it's the bit where you open it and you stir it with your old poker, or the kind of
The fun bit.
particles get into the air and then in from there into your brain and start causing merry havoc.
Right. So that's really the same as a barbecue then.
Yeah, you're just having a barbecue in your living room and it's killing you.
If you're having a barbecue outside and you were shuffling your coats, that would be the
But I
same
guess
thing.
because it's open air, isn't it? It's like farting outside versus farting inside, you know. Because he's less brain damage.
Wow.
I'm talking about a farting
I
caused brain
farted
damage.
so badly I caused myself brain damage.
A brain injured my entire family.
So we're selling, because people are obviously burning logs in it and kindling. So they're just burning wood. And that's
You're not really supposed to be snorting, burning.
and that's causing brain damage and cancers.
Yeah.
Everybody I've ever met who was involved in making bonfires does seem like they've had brain damage, to be fair.
That's the history of humanity, staring into the fire, cooking meat. Just who knows what we could have been?
Ape gods.
Maybe that's essentially who we are, brain damaged apes. Which would answer a lot of things that have happened in this millennium so far, and we're only a couple of years into it, really.
That would have been a great name for the podcast, Brain Damaged Apes.
So we are.
Speaking of brain damaged apes,
Love it.
I've had a very good week. Been writing a book which is called The Beginner's Guide to Surviving the Apocalypse.
Handy.
Right. There's two things happening here. Writing that book. I've also, as you both know, I think, over a period of time, had an online flirtation with a very attractive woman who happens to be a Nazi.
Yeah.
Yes. It's yes. I love this story. It's amazing.
But I would say the Apocalypse Guidebook, the Nazi prefers my old work, as she would. And the Apocalypse Guidebook is something of a throwback. It's very tasteless, as you can imagine, all the stuff that happens in the apocalypse. I've sent her some bits of it, and she really likes it.
No.
It's really found its audience.
Stop.
And
No.
now I've got a date with the Nazi where we're going to a fortune teller.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Right, first of all, if I can't even deal with the Nazi bit, we'll come back to that, right? You're going to go to a fortune teller.
Yeah.
I need a recording of this, because this is going to be amazing.
Nazis and fortune tellers don't seem like natural bedfellows.
What about Raiders of the Lost Ark, my friend?
Other than Raiders of the Lost Ark.
What about World War II, when they were not that keen on fortune tellers and people who travelled?
Well, that's the yin-yang of Nazis, you know?
They love the occult. They don't like where it comes from.
Listen,
Classic
as long
Nazis.
as they've got a house and they're not a member of a community that travels, all will be fine. Right, so back onto the Nazi.
I mean,
There was not the time to be flirting with Nazis as a social experiment
is
for
she a
yourself.
full-on Nazi? She certainly has some provocative views. If I kind of declassify her down to, say, alt-right...
Can you share those thoughts? Because I'm really interested to see what you're basing this downgrade on, because I think we need evidence for this.
I think it's unclear. I think I need to, I need to have a date with a fortune teller to clear this up.
The fortune teller to say, run. Run.
And she will.
Yes.
I'm kind of worried that the fortune teller's going to pick up a card that's just you on fire. Never had this one before.
This is
A tower collapse on your head or
what
something.
can you tell us about this person? Like, what kind of music are they into?
They seem to be quite into martial arts more than anything.
I'm really worried about you. I think this is how you're going to meet your end.
This is how I want to meet my end.
Go to a fortune teller with a Nazi sympathiser.
What martial arts is it? Is it like
It seems to be
BJJ,
it's
South American
very
stuff?
much that kind of thing where you run it. She seems to have a rubber dummy in her house that she runs at and chokes it out in various ways. Like,
And
a
you
bit
long
like,
to be the rubber dummy.
Well, it's a bit like, I mean, my ideal way to go would be like the latter Mission Impossible films, where that woman breaks people's necks with her thighs.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a good way to go. And this woman seems to be practicing that very kind of
you.
takedown. Yeah.
So your career has went from where people thought you were quite a controversial comedian to social commentary for a very long time and calling out the political ills of the day, and now you've just admitted on the podcast that you're going to go on a date with a Nazi to see a fortune teller. I feel that you've eroded all your good work that you've put in, man.
People are very judgmental then.
Yeah, they
Can't-
are,
can't
Frankie,
you-
because the Nazis is not
Can't you
a
be
good...
sexually attracted to a Nazi without it, being an issue?
Listen, a lot of
People have a lot. There's all sorts of different stuff happens in relationships, and sometimes you have to turn a blind eye. Yeah, I don't like The Office. When it was somebody who really liked The American Office, and I would be like, oh, okay.
But that's a bit different from somebody who's like, oh, I really like Joseph Goebbels.
Yeah, I think so long as you never find out what her number is,
Of people she's killed?
No, her number of people she thinks died.
Oh, okay. Her body count.
She'll be like, there was 6 of them in the bunker. That was all that died, and they should never have died because they were out to save the world. That's what she'll be saying. No, man.
I just feel like, my partner really likes Bette Midler. And that's been an issue for me.
Well, so does mine, but I'm in a gay relationship, so it's kind of par for the course, isn't it? I once bought my ex-wife 2 tickets to see Bette Midler, and she went with my mate, and they cost me a fortune. But do you know what? It was Bette Midler.
It's Bette Midler.
Bette Midler's not that much better than Hitler.
Oh, because she wrote songs with Barry Manilow. Well, she used to sing in the old gay bath. She was the first kind of LGBT ally.
Who would you rather have dinner with?
Oh, no. Your
Come on.
date or Bette Midler? I mean, that's either end of the spectrum there, Frankie, to be fair.
I was reading about how the Japanese got told loads of anti-Semitic stuff, like the Nazis told, because Germany and Japan were allies. Germany told Japan all these kind of like things about how Jews secretly ruled the world and are actually very secretly powerful people. And then Japan was like, they sound class. Like, they've got all these secret powers that they don't tell anybody about. They're secretly running things. We need to get on board with these guys. And that led to a very kind of Jew-friendly Japan.
Talking about Japan and the war, I'm in a group chat. My PT's got a kind of group chat for everybody that goes in case we need to swap appointments or something like that. And there's someone in the group chat who put in, if people find something that's, really beneficial to whatever to your diet, they'll go, oh, I found this stuff and I bought this. And this guy put in Wagyu beef burgers, Japanese and British beef burgers. But the title of the burgers was I Vow to Thee My Country. And I was like, are these remembrance burgers? Are these like, because I don't know if you know how the war worked, but Japan and Britain were not pals. Also, are these burgers in the shape of a poppy? Like, what is going on? That's the level.
Poppy burger.
A poppy burger.
Oh, you could have a wee pimento olive in the middle to be the midlet, and then shape the four.
You're going to get death threats for this because you've
petals.
disrespected the poppy.
The Japanese one can be very well done.
Or have a wee red bit in the middle and it's like completely white on the outside, like some kind of...
We cook it for 2 seconds at 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
See, that's that Nazi's influence coming over you.
This, I would say though, your modern Nazi, or alt-right, as we might call them, is very pro-Israel.
Yeah.
And very anti-Muslim, aren't they? They've kind of shuffled a bit.
Aye, because the Muslims have been the fall guy, haven't they, for the West, really, since their wealth has started to overtake the West, isn't it? So suddenly we've had to blame people for that, because that's what white people in the West do. Like, there's always got to be a bad guy, because at the end of the Second World War, America realised how much money the military-industrial complex made, so therefore they're just going straight in. This is going to lead me back to Robert Kennedy, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
There's no topic on the planet that couldn't lead you back to Robert Kennedy.
The greatest president America ever had.
We've got to do a documentary on the Robert Kennedy assassination. That's where this podcast has got to go, because we all think, well, not Christopher yet, but we do think about it a lot.
Wait till after lunch.
Soon we're just digging bullets out of a fucking drywall in a kitchen somewhere.
A kitchen in the school that's on the site of what was the Ambassador Hotel, and that school's now the Robert F. Kennedy High School.
Have you been?
No, but I'm dying to go, obviously.
Going for BBC 4 in about 18 months' time. I'm
dying to go to Dealey Plaza.
Oh, yeah.
Old Elm Street.
There's an X on the ground where you can stand and go...
I'd be out with a measuring tape and a protractor. Like, no, definitely not. Definitely not.
You should be allowed to shoot, like, they should have a watermelon or something on a stick there and you can take a shot at it.
May God forgive you. I don't even believe in God. No, you can't. You can't. Oh, and just have, like, your partner wearing, like, a pink two-piece and let it spray.
That was a good look, to be fair.
Bits of brain.
Yeah. Yeah, you should get, like, a potato gun or something.
She looked kind of hot coming out of that car. That's something people don't say a lot, but...
There's a cartoon called The Venture Brothers, and then one of the characters is dressed like her, and then she's really... It's hot.
It's hot.
On the assassination day?
Yeah, with the pink...
Fuck, I was joking, Christopher.
There's nothing quite like a grieving widow covered in her dead husband's brain and blood to make me go, ooh, hot.
Grief turns people on. I know it was quite soon, but people like that.
Quite soon. He wasn't even cold.
There was a bit of him on her, do you know what I mean? But, it was over at that point.
Hold yourself down, honey, and get in here.
That's what we should do.
Get over it.
I think we can pitch this as a documentary that we do Dallas and we do California,
Yeah, a series. Why not? And let's do Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Because Malcolm X, Martin Luther King and Bobby were all assassinated in the same year. What a coincidence.
Yeah, Jesus. I don't think I've ever been with a Nazi. Getting back to that subject.
I think you've probably turned a few.
Towards Nazism?
Yeah.
I definitely haven't. They're very hard to find in the gay scene, surprisingly.
Jinx, so is that gay
Maybe the boys, they might be into all that, but not the girls, they're too busy sitting. We're too busy fucking reading poetry and playing guitars to each other. No, not the...
Try to think if I've ever seen a lesbian Nazi.
And the boys will be into it, especially if you go to like gay clubs in Berlin and Amsterdam and Rotterdam and that. There'll be a lot of that kind of sub-dom
gay skinhead movement.
Oh, aye. I like the gay skinhead movement in the UK wasn't particularly right wing.
No.
It was just a look.
Yeah.
And it's what they liked, but
two-tone and stuff like that.
Aye. But if you go to like Germany and Holland, and there's certainly a bit of, even like Prague, places like that where you still need to kind of chap the door to get into the speakeasy. You know, it's still the wee shutter to open to go, do you look gay enough? Yes, you do. And you come. That kind of stuff.
I think I could get in a few Frankie pass with my wee scarf.
They think you're a lesbian though.
Yeah.
I think this beard is getting me in.
Daddy beards. Just a beard beard.
Wax this boy before I go chap on the door. I'll be fine.
And that door will open.
This reminds me of something we were talking about on tour, which was, it's partly like because we've got the internet now, you know, it's radicalised people who wouldn't have been radicalised before. And people like Billy Connolly, who had a natural curiosity about the world, that was almost his selling point, right? Was like, I'm not like a normal Scottish person. Not a normal.
Very open-minded.
Yeah, he was like, he wanted to travel the world, you know,
Yeah.
all that kind of things that he introduced people to. Nowadays, he would have been exposed early on to conspiracy theory and might have gone another way, you know?
Yeah.
Down the rabbit hole.
I've just listened to his book, Rambling Man.
Yeah.
And it was good. I really enjoyed it, but I think you're right, because it was that kind of thing of, even as a kid, you know, he was quite happy going out a walk and playing with a stick and investigate things and look at things and see the world in a way that the majority of us don't see it like that, because he was just a little bit different.
But if he's born 20 years later, he'd be like, Building 7? Fuck off.
I don't think so.
But yeah, I think you're probably right.
I've examined the smoke.
Just a kind of hippie, wasn't he? He was just a kind of hippie after hippies, really. Wasn't he? It's just a kind of like hippie.
He was that. He was a certain type of thing, which is like a person who looks like a hippie and has some elements of hippie-ishness, but will punch you.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? Which is a certain type. There's a certain...
Very
Scotland and
common in
Ireland.
this city and in this country.
Yeah.
Like where you can go, I mean, there's some pubs that you can go into in this city where it's very traditional. There'll be some trad music. There'll be old guys at the bar that are kind of stinking of pish. And then there'll be some kind of hipsters in the corner. And it is that notion, if somebody went, I think the Beatles were pish, somebody would actually throw a glass at them. What? Can you say that about the Beatles? Like, it's that kind of... Sometimes I always feel that about Glasgow, that there's always an element where you go, I mean, at any given moment, this could just go tits up.
Yeah. Someone knocks over an ashtray and suddenly it's a fucking free-for-all.
I once worked in a gay bar, right? I was assistant manager, and I remember this girl coming to ask me out, and she was at the end of the bar, and it was a Saturday night, and the pub was heaving, and she's like, come and meet me in this club, and I was like, no. And she's like, come and meet me in this club, and I was like, no. And she was at the end of the bar, and it was like the 90s, so you could still smoke in pubs, and there was this, you know, the really big, thick glass ashtrays, and I was at one end of the bar, and she was at the other, and she literally picked up the ashtray and flung it at me and went, come and meet me. And I was like, oh, well, now you've thrown an ashtray at me. Nothing. Aye, why not? Because, you know, that's attractive. Aye.
That's
mental.
brain damaged ape stuff, isn't it?
So did you fancy her?
They know.
Before this? No, she just...
No, she just kind of like we knew each other, and there was a kind of like we'd a chat and a bit of a laugh, but I always thought she was a bit mental. And then it turns out my instincts were right. And this is why I'm telling you to stay away from the Nazi.
You're going to get an ashtray with a swastika on it.
All I'm saying is they knew about the log burners. It was deliberate.
They were trying to...
Don't come from Israel.
It's a carcinogen.
But they look lovely.
I can't believe
They look
that.
lovely
Man.
in the corner of your living room, though. Don't they? A wee bit of glow.
Brilliant, you know.
Just
you
a
don't
wee bit
have
of
to-
glow. Just fantastic.
It's like a log burner.
Oh, lovely and brain damage poo.
Quite the thing, you know. I don't know. I try and avoid brain damage. As a rule. I try and not get brain damage.
I mean, you say that, but the evidence is stacking up against that theory.
What do you think vaping's going to do to people when they find out? Obviously, they've not done the research necessary, but I'd imagine it's a kind of similar industry to the log burner industry where they know that they're, you know, messing up a generation of children's brains, giving them brain damage, giving them popcorn lung. You don't care?
They don't care.
Who doesn't care?
The government doesn't care.
Right.
There
What do you
was
mean
a
the
time-
kids? They're like, they'll get their brain damage.
Listen, they've got a log burn on the house. A watermelon ice is the last thing they need to worry about. No, I think there is a thing where, like, see if you think about it, we had a government that banned tobacco advertising in Formula One and sports in general, and now you've got a government selling sweet flavoured smoking apparatus to children. Do you know they don't care.
Was the idea that Formula One was so fast it was like subliminal? I really want a fag, I don't know why.
Can write anything in the cars. And
Like
just-
the last thing those people should be doing is having a fag.
Aye, yeah. Imagine
Formula One
if you,
drivers?
Yeah, because the fuel.
All right, yeah.
imagine
yeah.
if you
Pit
just
stop.
went into the pit and it was just like 12 people with fur.
Sponsors gave us easy.
Aye, that's your tyre. Aye.
Oh man, Formula One.
I hate it.
You don't like it? I don't like it. Anytime somebody talks to me about it, I go,
I don't-
you're a wank.
I don't care.
I write them off. I'm like, that's you out.
Aye, totally.
And you're going to win Nazi.
Exactly. I'm not. Not yet.
Not yet. You're considering
Depends
it.
what the cards say, my friend.
Have you just
It's the hanged man 3 times and there's only 2 in the pack. Not a great sight.
It's your exact face getting
Have you
your eyes
dis-
plucked out by a crow.
have you discussed this with any close relatives of people who may love you?
Yes.
Yeah, and what's their views?
Negative.
Negative,
Fairly
right?
negative. But let's also be honest. I've nothing else going on. So, you know.
Sometimes just because you can do something doesn't always mean you should, Frankie. That's all we're saying about going on a date there, and that's it. I'm worried about you going on this date. There's Christopher's contemplating his life without you, man. Look at him. It's just like,
I just thought there's a band I like called Los Campesinos and they kind of invented that thing of never kiss a Tory because they've got a song where they say that, right? Never kiss a Tory boy when I wanted to cut off your tongue again. It's like that. And then I remember I met this comedian who liked the band as well at the Fringe and they were like, well, I mean, you know, we like that song, but obviously, you know, you have kissed a Tory at some point in your life, you know. And I was like, if you don't know me, you can. But then I remembered the last year, like I lost my virginity to was like a lawyer in the army. And I was like, I've kissed a Tory, definitely.
Probably not a Lib Dem. I would pummel any Tory I could get my hands on.
amazing.
Yeah. Like,
You'd pummel them?
yeah,
Yeah, of course.
absolutely pummel.
Yeah. I'd hook them up to a log burn.
Yeah. Bent over the fucking log burner.
Do you mean sexually pummel someone?
I do mean sexually.
Right,
pummel.
okay. That wasn't clear.
I don't know if this is a vibe. Be honest with you boys, I don't know if it's a vibe.
Welcome to the Tory Shaggers on Global
No,
Player.
but like, So some people would go on their, I only know this because people have told me, never been on one, on their dating app, they would go no Tories.
Probably for the best.
So this is that attitude, isn't it, writ large, of I wouldn't kiss a Tory, I wouldn't take a Nazi to a fortune teller. Like, and I understand that's the thing, but there's other people who are like, well, that's, that's not key for me. If someone was a Tory, would that be key for me? I don't know.
I think it depends on
It'd be hard to talk to them.
I think it depends on what type of Tory they are, right? Because you can be like a small C conservative and you go, it's not for me, but I can understand why you vote or why you think like that. Or you can be like one of these Tories that are in power now that are like, let's preserve wealth, let's make poor people poorer, let's take the vulnerable and the sick and put them back to work, and let's pull up the ladder behind us. You can be one of these. Whereas actually, conservatism, traditionally, in the small C sense, isn't like that. Yeah, it's about, kind of self-motivation and all that kind of stuff, but it's kind of steeped in Christian values, and those values are kind of, look out for people, blah, 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 and they just don't have that. So there is that thing of where you go, well, are you a small C?
I think it's even worse. if you're allowing they ones to be in power, because you're like, well, I don't really agree with them, but they should all be set on fire, I think.
But it's true though, isn't it? Because there's partly why I would say it's a new thing. Never kiss a Tory.
Yeah.
Right? And that's because back in the day, half of them would be One Nation Tories,
right.
Whereas now, like,
So
70% of them are pretty much fucking General Pinochet. It's hard to ask those questions before you shag them, though, isn't it? Of trying to work out if they're a One Nation Tory or not. How do you feel about federalism?
How do you feel about food banks? People are just using them because they're greedy. Oh, okay then, sex is off the table.
Yeah, that's it though, isn't it? As soon as the first thing comes out, it's just, you've got to keep talking about movies or something.
How do you feel about Ken Loach films?
Do you like Richard Littlejohn and his social commentary of Great Britain?
How did you feel about the short-lived chat show Big John Littlejohn?
Those people can only have careers because they're right-wing.
Who's your woman that wrote Matt Hancock's autobiography?
Isabel Oakeshott.
Never
What's her
has-
vibe? I don't know her.
I'll tell you what her vibe is. She writes for the Telegraph and she wrote Matt Hancock's autobiography. She got access to the WhatsApp.
Oh, her? Aye.
She leaked them in the public interest. I don't think you did, Isabel. I think it was in your interest that you leaked them. Yeah, like
She was the David Cameron fuck the pig.
yeah, David Cameron fucked the pig. Yeah, she just keeps fucking putting things out.
Not enough people talk about the mouse aspect to the David Cameron pig king.
Oh, it was a head, wasn't
Yeah,
it? It
yeah.
was meant to just be the head.
If you say, oh, he shagged a pig, you're thinking penetrative sex with a pig, but it was actually the cut off head of a pig's mouth,
Which I think might...
which I think's a fair delineation.
You feel it would have been better if he'd vaginally penetrated a live pig?
I don't think it would be better, but it would have been different.
Yeah, it would have been different. There's no denying that.
But nobody brings
weird.
it up. Oh, he
It's
shagged a
weird.
pig, he shagged a pig.
It's just weird behaviour. Like, I don't care how rich you are. That's fucking weird.
I reckon he probably flopped his flaccid penis into the disembodied head of a pig, and as part of some fucking ceremony.
Yeah.
But that's not what's that ceremony for?
Yeah.
That's the, I want to know more.
No, I don't.
What details?
That's you got your oral sex from a pig badge at the Scouts. I mean, it's got to be some bleak ceremony, hasn't it?
It was
They're
all...
summoning something.
Was it the Bullingdon Club? Was it the initiation for the Bullingdon
I don't think it was
Club?
the Billington Club. I think it was a different thing.
A different club?
Yeah.
How, are you not meant to go to university to study? How many of these fucking clubs are you in? How did you get the time?
Is it not some kind of thing of like everybody has dirt on each other with these things? So it's like, oh, we'll all fuck a pig's mouth and then well, if you ever go against me, I've got this on you, that type of thing, the Scientology thing.
That's what people said at the time, but I don't see it. I just think they would have had so many of those things that it wasn't really for that. And also, those people have a real omerta as well.
It's Soggy Biscuit Club, isn't it?
Yeah.
We eat each other's cum, we fuck pigs.
It'd be amazing if they just ran on that at the next election. Just got, right, actually, we're going to lose anyway.
Never done anything as exciting as that in his life.
We eat each other's cum, we fuck pigs, we raised a demon through a Stargate in Thatcher's pelvic bones.
Summoned by Norman Tebbit. Summoned by Norman Tebbit and Michael Heseltine.
I think Tebbit was like a golem, you know, like a kind of clay spirit that had been raised by a necromancer.
He's still alive.
Wow.
So
I don't think he was ever alive.
No, true. So when my late grandmother passed away, my nana passed away, it was the day before we went to vote in Brexit in 2016, right? And she passed away, and then it was the day of the vote and all that, and I didn't really get much sleep that night, and it was kind of busy during the day, and just, as you are with grief, you're a bit all over the place and try to get things done, and not sleeping, a million things going through your head. And it was the night of the vote, and I seen the Sunderland vote come in, and I'd fell asleep, and my then girlfriend, now wife, went, listen, just go to bed. And she was up at like 4:30 in the morning to go to work. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30, and she was like, hey. Came into the bedroom, pure stroked my head. She was like, hey. I was like, hey. She was like, listen, it's good that you get some sleep. You've got a big day today. You've got the funeral to organise. Then she went, oh, by the way, we're out of Europe. And I was like, are you fucking joking? Like, pure up out my bed. Took the doobie into the living room. This is 5:30. There's Big Dimbleby. Britain has voted to leave the EU. And then they went to Norman Tebbit. And I was on my phone and I could see my brother was online. And I literally phoned my brother and he was like, is everything all right? And I was like, no, everything is not all right. Because not only have we voted to come out the EU, my nana is in a fridge and that fucking Norman Tebbit is on my television. How is he even still alive? See, when the fucking world ends, there'll be cockroaches and Norman Tebbit left in this earth. I am not okay. And it just hung up the phone. Had a total breakdown, which was obviously the breakdown that was coming for 24 hours of losing my gran. But honestly, my brother was just like, I hung the phone and literally 30 seconds later he was like, are you okay? And I was like, no, no, the world's collapsing, no. And I just remember like Norman Tebbit, I was like, I cannot believe he's still in the go.
I don't know who Norman Tebbit is. He was the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster.
He was placed in our political system by the Jesuits. Brilliant.
So
basically, he was a working class guy that joined the Conservative Party, and was he chief whip as well? Maybe at one point, I think he was chief whip, and he was like, he used to be portrayed in Spitting Image as a Nazi.
Oh yeah,
aye. He was kind of like Gestapo type.
His famous thing was get on your bike and look for work.
Yeah.
He was like during the height of unemployment, which the Tories had engineered to try and break the unions, so they created high unemployment.
The deindustrialisation of Scotland and the north of England, so there was high unemployment because there was no other training opportunities.
He gave a famous speech about how his dad used to get on his bike and cycle to the next town and look for work, and that's what people should be doing, getting on their bike.
But completely forgetting that they also deindustrialised the next town.
I mean, really, what you're at, it's kind of a metaphor for like he'll go to another country and work there, which is, you know,
which is the last thing he wanted.
Yeah.
The other thing he was famous for was the cricket test. It was like, who do you support when the cricket's on?
Ah, yes.
And what he meant was black and Asian people in Britain hadn't really integrated properly because they didn't support England at cricket.
I know, not realising
which actually many of them did.
That Scotland don't support England at cricket or any other sport.
Or war.
Or war. Or care about cricket, in fact, as a nation. So, yeah.
He has been described as a keen amateur chef and has published a book on cooking game.
That's
of course.
Just to hide his interest in alchemy.
Cooking game. Nothing quite says I'm a Tory. That's weird.
Mad pigeon eater.
And also, you need to hunt it.
Well, it's all a cover for hunting humans.
I agree. Because there's no way he would be alive if he wasn't getting blood pumped into him.
Yeah.
Are you accusing Tebbit of being a cannibal?
Of course, I'm not accusing him.
I'm noticing.
Merely observing.
That was Here Comes the Guillotine. Tune in next week for more ill-informed chat and merriment.